Progressives seems to have a loser complex, and it's very unfortunate. Let me start by saying this. During the presidential primary in 2016, many progressives were rightly upset that the Democratic National Committee was too involved favoring Hillary Clinton over her rival Bernie Sanders. And they have a right to be upset. The DNC never should have gotten involved to try and favor the outcome of the campaign from one candidate over the other. The process should have been conducted fairly and with the highest moral standards, which it was not. And so that's the first fact that needs to be admitted. But Donald Trump is not president. And so what are progressives' response to Donald Trump? Let's abandon the Democratic Party. Let's move along because they're not doing anything for us. We can do a much better job on our own. There's plenty of examples to say that, we can do these things from the ground up. We don't even need the parties to do it. And it seems that the progressives have simply not come to terms with reality. Let's talk about some things. First, some progressives suggest that we should punish those who weren't on our side, punish Hillary supporters. Is that really going to unite the party? Is taking revenge out on someone? Should there be apologies? Should there be some type of admittance, some type of process that says that the process in the presidential primaries was unfair and favored towards one candidate? Yes. There should be honesty about that because it was unfair. But getting revenge on folks is not going to help out the progressive cause. It's just not. Progressive's other idea, well, let's form a third party. Okay. I mean, you can obviously join the Green Party or form another progressive party, and that's fine. But if you actually want to be able to implement a progressive agenda, you're not going to be very successful at that point. There are progressive third parties in many industrialized countries. And you know what all of them have in common? They have no power. They have a few seats in the legislative bodies. But they do not have the majority that would be needed to form a government so that they can implement the kind of policies that they want to get passed. And there's many examples. There's a Green Party in Australia, the New Democratic Party in Canada. Those are just two examples of many across the globe where these progressive third parties have seats in the legislative body, in the national legislative body, but they do not have an ability to they do not have the numbers that they need to form a government. So what's the other ideas? Well, we can score victories by organizing people and putting pressure on the people who are in power, and we can do it that way. Okay, and given that does work, there are examples to show that does work. Here in Michigan, there were people who organized and put together a great campaign to increase the minimum wage, and it forced the state legislature, which is controlled by Republicans, to increase the minimum wage. It's a great victory. But at what cost? Okay, so we got a few dollars increase in the minimum wage, and that's great. I'm all for increasing the minimum wage. But That's one victory surrounded by a ton of losses. Let's talk about what those losses are. Well, here in Michigan in 2010, Republicans took over the state legislature, took the governor's office, have state Supreme Court. What kind of issues have progressives lost on? One, business tax was eliminated, so now corporations, they got a massive business tax break. Taxes were increased on almost everybody who made, who has a very low income. All sorts of deregulation, all sorts of social programs were cut. Unemployment benefits were cut from 26 weeks to 20 weeks. Massive cuts in education and higher education. That's why tuition is going through the roof. No real education reform legislation. Abortion laws, more anti-abortion laws are being passed. Voter suppression laws here in Michigan. All these things that are going on. One victory out of a massive loss. And probably one of the biggest defeats was the attacks on unions. Michigan is now a right-to-work state. So a bunch of victories, so one loss surrounded by a bunch of defeats. It's going to make it more difficult to implement a progressive agenda. So is it a good idea to go and pull people together and get that one issue sorted out? Yeah, that's great. But it comes at the cost. But if that's the only strategy that you want to implement, then you're begging for more losses. Because we lost on all of those other issues. Why? Because we do not have a progressive majority in the state legislature. We don't have a progressive person in the governor's office. And now that Republicans have control of Congress and control of the White House, it's going to make it that much more difficult to implement a progressive agenda. So if progressive thinks that just doing the organizing and that's, but that organizing should come with the end result of winning majorities in our legislative bodies. And that means that you have to do it through a political party. Third party, probably not going to work. So what's the option? Win leadership positions in the Democratic Party. Make it more progressive. That is how you're going to have to do it. If you are serious about implementing a progressive agenda, which many Americans will support. But sitting up blaming each other and having a loser complex is not going to get it. This is Donald Stuckey for Politics 360.